Hey guys, I am back. I've been gone for a while. I've been working on a special new project and today is the first day. I am creating a second channel. It's called Nails and Nightmares. I only have one hand done. They're old. This one fell off when I was at work. It's gonna be like a spooky stories, ghost stories, abandoned buildings, murders, cults, just super creepy stuff like that. Serial killers, all that jazz. It is a podcast as well. You can follow my podcast, Nails and Nightmares, on Spotify right now. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
We're sorry. You have reached a number.
You are now tuned in to Nails and Nightmares. I'm Samantha Ann. I'll be your host for this evening. Now, I do go over topics of hauntings, serial killers, abandoned buildings, cults, and plenty more tales to tingle your toes. By the end, my nails will sparkle and your spine will shiver. Let's pick up that bottle and paint through this story together. All right, welcome to Nails and Nightmares, the show where I create beautiful nails and tell you terrifying tales. Today's story, oh my gosh, I am so excited for this. I found this case. I was watching Netflix, Worst Roommates Ever. I had just graduated from school. I was super bored because I didn't have anything to do. I already accepted a new job, but I had to wait a month for my nail tech license to come in the mail. So I was just hanging out. And I became obsessed with this case. So I started writing up a paper about it because I was bored and I needed something to work on. Shout out to all my ADHDers out there. Thank you. Hello and welcome. This is a safe space. So I'm doing my research paper and I'm like texting my boyfriend about doing a research paper, and I go to his house and I'm talking about I got to finish my paper, and then finally it clocks for him and he's like, what is she talking about? She's not in school anymore, and she also graduated as a nail technician. Why is she doing a research paper on a murder case? So he asked me what I was doing, and I just told him I was bored. And that's kind of when it clocked for me. I should turn this into a podcast. Like, why don't I do something out of this? When I'm doing my nails, I'm always like watching crime and stuff. So why not just put the two together? Nails and Nightmares. Hey, how's it going? How you doing? If you would like to follow along to the video version, it's going to be Nails and Nightmares on YouTube. I would love to do like nails to match the cases, like a little theme. Don't know if that's possible. I'm sure for some I'll be able to do it, but I'm in the beginning of my career and I need a lot of practice. So any fellow nail techs that are listening, if you got tips and tricks or any like advice, feel free to comment. I'd love to hear it. Without further ado, I think we should get into tonight's tale. And I'm gonna paint a picture for you. It's a Tuesday morning. You're at home with your son. Things are normal. Everything's fine. You're like a woman in your 30s, by the way, and your name is Rachel, and you're also mad hot. Okay, respect, Rachel. Love you. So it's Tuesday morning. You're at home with your son. The FBI knocks on your door, and they ask to come in. You say okay, and you let them in. They start to ask you questions about your roommate. They're asking you, does she teach science? Has she ever taught science? Is she currently in any classes for school? And you know your roommate. She's not in any science classes, so you tell them no. Well, the agent says, okay, that's cool. What about beer? Is she into like making any types of beer? And you're like, no, she doesn't make any beer. And you're confused. There's 3 FBI agents in your house and you have your son. So you're like, am I in trouble? Like, you stop the questions. Am I in trouble here? What's going on? No, you're not in trouble. Okay, so you ask, is my son in any trouble? The agents say no. And so you ask, is my roommate in trouble? And they say yes, she's in trouble. And so you're confused. You know your roommate's in trouble. They're asking you weird questions. But you can tell that these FBI agents are holding something back. You can tell they're not really saying what they came here to say. And you're almost in tears at this point. And you're like, she's been my best friend for 25 years. None of these questions are making sense. I don't know where she is. She's supposed to call me today. She's my best friend. We've 25 years. Where's Janie? She's supposed to call me today. And the agent says, well, she's not going to call you. Well, why not, you ask? The agent replies, well, she might call you, but she's in jail. This is the story of Rachel Booth, the amazing survival case of Rachel Booth and her magical son, Ryder. Okay, let's get into the context here. So we've got Rachel living at home with her son and her best friend, Janie. So Rachel, growing up, was the sixth of 7 children. She was really, really close with her father growing up. Her mother did die later on in life, which does play a little bit into the story later. Rachel was a dancer growing up, and she was really big into fitness. She loved to lose herself into her music when she would go running, which I completely relate to, especially when you're feeling sad and you go for a run and you listen to sad music. It starts to rain outside, and the rain mixes in with your tears, and it's just a total vibe. So Rachel ended up going to college, and then she got married immediately after college, moved in with her husband. She did end up getting a divorce just because her husband was very opinionated, and so this led her to move back in with her father, which brings us to the year of 1995. Rachel's 22 years old. She's out with her friends. Rachel's a super bubbly, fun, outgoing woman. She's blonde, she's into fitness, she's beautiful, and she's just the life of the party. Everybody knows someone like that. She meets a girl when she's out. Her name is Janie. Janie's 26, a couple years older than her. She seemed very shy and introverted, but Rachel said she was really nice and sweet, almost kind of like the yang to Rachel's yang. Janie growing up was described as not having very many friends, and she was always really quiet, so she took to Rachel very well. Some of their friends would state Rachel was so fun, gregarious, and outgoing, while Janie was described as independent and introverted. So Janie lived alone, and she had just recently had her house broken into. Rachel wanted to move out of her parents' house, and with Janie's current situation, this honestly just seemed like a perfect fit for these girlfriends to become roommates. They did end up moving in together, and some time goes by. Rachel feels really safe living with Janie and vice versa. She's kind of like the bookkeeper of the house, Janie is, and Rachel was working as a paramedic, so she would bring her paychecks home, and then Janie would basically handle all of the finances for her. Rachel was like from her parents' house to college to married, then just parents into Janie. So she didn't really know how to do any of that. She was able to go to work. She loved her job as a paramedic, so she could make all the money, but Janie would just kind of handle all of the finances for her because she had been independent for a lot longer, and it was just really her strong point. Since Janie was handling all of the finances, Rachel would kind of handle their social life. So it was a really great friendship. It really was a great balance between the two of them. They helped each other out in that way. So it's 1996, my birth year. The girls are going out, and Rachel meets a guy. Rachel describes this guy as just dreamy, and she's completely infatuated with him. But this is when Janie starts to get a little bit more aggressive in her nature. Janie would say things to Rachel like, oh, he's just a player, and oh, I'm just looking out for you so you don't get hurt. Which is pretty normal. Like, we all know a friend like that. They're a really good friend, and they're looking out for you, and, like, they know you better, and they can see that this guy might be not really the best one for you. But Janie was just a little bit more odd than that. She would stand at the bottom of the stairs while Rachel would be watching movies with her partner, and she would scream at how loud the volume on the TV was. When they would go out dancing and people would talk to Rachel or ask Rachel to dance, Janie would almost turn resentful towards her. She would get angry and jealous that Rachel would be talking to other people and getting all of the attention. There almost seemed to be an air of possessiveness that she had over Rachel, is how one of their friends described it. At this point, Janie would start dressing more like Rachel, acting more like Rachel, and people began speculating that Janie actually wanted to be in a romantic relationship with Rachel. Everyone in their social circle was saying that Janie was in love with her. Rachel insisted time and time, it's not that. She's like, no, she doesn't like me. She's just an overly protective friend. She's overly protective. Like, it's just, no, like, it's not what it is. Like, we're just friends. But Janie was overly protective to the point that she would almost incoherently yell at Rachel in front of who she would be talking to, one time calling her a whore. Rachel finally asked her, "Do you just not like me?" Janie replied, "You're my family. I just don't want to lose you." This eventually led to Rachel slimming down her social life because she really felt like she was being a bad person to Janie. I feel really, really bad for Rachel. But, she's like, Janie's just looking out. She's being a good friend. And so Rachel's been working as a paramedic for 6 years. And like I said, she loved her job. It was her favorite job. She was so happy there. But unfortunately, in January of 2010, Rachel got a back injury. It was a herniated disc. She really wanted to go back to work, but the pain was too unbearable. Because her injuries were so bad, she was losing her career, her social life, and her love for being active all at one time. A herniated disc is so painful. My dad had one, and he could barely even walk. So she can't go back to work. She can't work out, which is her favorite thing to do. She can't dance. And so she's just kind of bedridden, and it really, really sucks. She kind of lost truly her 3 favorite things in her life. Then to top it all off, you guys, she's pregnant. And do you know what? The deadbeat dad, yeah, he's a deadbeat dad. The deadbeat dad scaredly ran away like a little deadbeat little baby boy. And so now Rachel's totally isolated. She's by herself. She can't work. She can't go out and be social. She can't go out and drink because she's pregnant. So she can't go run outside. She's just a soon-to-be single mother, and she's just helpless. I mean, that I can't imagine how she's feeling right now. Like, that just must be just so terrible. And so right now, her care is solely relying on Janie. She had been giving Janie to cover the money for the finances before, but now she has no income. And Janie's completely taking on all of the responsibility, and Rachel feels really, really guilty. She's jobless, she's pregnant, and she's injured. And she feels like the only thing that she has in her life that's going good for her and that she can enjoy is that little baby boy in her belly named Ryder. So Ryder was born in 2010 and he has autism. He was told by his doctors that he was going to be nonverbal his entire life. And since Rachel was always so into music, she would sing everything to Ryder nonstop for the first 18 months of his life. And she understood that the neuroplasticity between speech and music, they take different pathways in the brain. So she was like, well, if I sing to him, maybe it'll, like, since it takes a different pathway, maybe he can do speech that way. And you guys, it was working. Ryder's first words were songs. And they had a video in the documentary of him singing in his crib. Oh my gosh, it was so cute. It was just so adorable. And so, like I said earlier, Rachel did experience losing her mother at a young age, and that caused Rachel to take out a very large life insurance policy once she had Ryder, because she experienced losing her mother when she was really young. Rachel did list Janie as the guardian of Ryder in her will, and this life insurance policy was $150,000. Rachel said, quote, "I trusted her 100%, which I paid for later." During Ryder's birth, Rachel herniated another disc. She expected it to slowly get better on its own, but unfortunately she was told she would need surgery or she's going to suffer from a permanent disability. We're now in January of 2015, and Rachel gets her surgery. It's been 20 years of friendship for Rachel and Janie, you guys. That was a big 20-year jump we just did. Rachel's basically stuck in her house at this point. She was on a lot of medication from her surgery, and her doctors had a lot of restrictions on what daily tasks that she can and can't do. This is when Janie really does step in as a best friend to help take care of Ryder. Rachel's family lives 5 hours away, and she really has no one else. Her older sister talked about how appreciative they all were of Janie taking over Ryder's care. Rachel really needed a friend, and they truly were so happy that Janie was there to take care of her and her son. Janie was working at a training center at this time, and she was helping Indigenous people have opportunities in life, which is really cool. Since her job was very flexible, she was able to take care of Ryder so much. Janie enrolled in Respite. Respite is a program that financially helped Janie for taking care of Ryder due to Rachel's disability, and so she's now making really, really good money. Ryder becomes Janie's number one focus. She's pretty much like his in-home caregiver, and she's getting paid for it. On days when Rachel felt well enough, she would attend school events with Ryder and Janie. Janie would converse with the other parents that Rachel didn't know. The principal seemed to be really close with Janie, and Rachel stated she was like the mayor of the school. She started letting people believe she was Ryder's parent. It was at this point, Rachel kind of had to stand up to Janie. She was saying it's her child. It's not up for debate who gets him. He's her child. This made Janie really upset, but there was nothing Janie could do. From 2015 to 2018, Rachel has 7 back surgeries. She would fall a lot because of these back surgeries, which, oh my gosh, I just feel so bad for her, you guys. I can't even imagine the pain that this poor woman is going through. Since she would fall because of her back surgeries, it caused her to hurt her neck, which unfortunately led to another surgery. With all of these surgeries, Rachel's obviously on a lot of pain medication, you guys. She got that good. You know she got that medicine cabinet stocked up. But Rachel's a responsible mother, and so she's relying on Janie to keep a running log of all of her medications. She's got like envelopes. She literally has like timestamps of each medication that she's supposed to take at each time with each pill in there. Like, she's on it. She's a badass mom. She is not going to be double dosing. She's not going to be all like doped up around her kids. She's not doing it. She's going to have her back injury, and she's going to be a good mom, okay? She does not double dose. She does not mess around. We are going to jump ahead, June 20th, 2018. It's a normal Saturday. Rachel did recently have another surgery, so Janie decides to take Ryder to work with her. Rachel gets up to take a walk and to go check the mail. She opens the mailbox and she's sifting through the letters, comes upon an envelope, and it's addressed to her. It's from the court. The letter's informing her that Ryder has been assigned a guardian ad litem, which is a custody case for Ryder to go to Janie on the terms that Janie felt Rachel could no longer take proper care of her son, Ryder. Rachel immediately calls Janie, who answers the phone all cheerfully and joyously, and asks her straight up, "Hey dude, are you trying to take custody of my kid?" A few seconds go by. Janie says, "Yes," and hangs up the phone. Rachel literally is stunned. Like, homegirl has no idea what to do right now. So she decides to call 911, and she tells them, "My roommate has my child and she won't return him to me." That is a quote from her to the police. The police inform Rachel that she hasn't been served yet, but there has actually been a protective order of Ryder filed against her. What happens next is what Rachel describes is and probably forever will be the worst day of her life. Alone, confused, and weak as a kitten, Rachel asks the police what to do. The police inform her that it is Janie's house and that she has to leave the home and leave her son behind. This completely destroyed Rachel. I gotta take a deep breath after that. I'm not even a mom, y'all, and I gotta take a deep breath after that. With the help of her father, thank goodness, Rachel drives to a nearby hotel, and Child Protective Services do show up to question her. They interviewed Janie first, and then CPS tells Rachel it's, to their understanding, she's a drug addict. She's addicted to opiates, and she cannot take care of her son because she is straight up addicted. She's just putting her child in dangerous situations, too, and she can't be around her kid. 3 minutes go by of CPS officers talking to Rachel and letting her describe her side of the story, and they instantly realized Janie was lying. Like, literally, LOL, girl. Like, so stupid. Like, she's literally out here doing the most to take care of her son. And also, he has autism. Like, my sister, we don't, like, for sure know she's autistic, but homegirl, like, definitely got something. And it's hard, you guys. Like, Janie's, gosh, she's so stupid. Okay. Back to the story. So, I literally lost my spot because Janie okay. The CPS agents tell Rachel that not only did Janie never bring up the back surgery that she just had, but she never brought up any of the surgeries that Rachel was undergoing. Now that CPS knows the truth, they release Ryder back into the custody of Rachel, but only after 10 long and excruciating days. With Rachel's family not around and her inability to find work due to her injuries, she turns to a local family shelter. Rachel and her son stayed at the shelter for 6 weeks. She does describe the shelter really in the best of terms. She says they were amazing and they did everything that they could for her and her son. But unfortunately, because of Ryder's situation, it just wasn't a really good fit. Ryder was always asking to go home. It was every single day he was asking to go home. And out of the blue, Rachel receives a phone call from Janie. She was asking if she could see Ryder again. Rachel agrees to meet up at a local park just because Ryder really did miss her. He was asking to go home so much, and she was unsure if Ryder wanted to go back home to the house or just go back home with Janie. Once they were at the park, Rachel describes Janie as normal looking, like the Janie that she had always known. She no longer seemed so dark and twisted. Janie apologized. She explained she was in a really dark place at the time, and she just got scared that Rachel was going to leave her again. Janie wanted to know if Rachel would move back home with her. Everything is going to be okay, she says. Rachel has another surgery coming up. Ryder really wanted to go home, so she agrees, and she says yes. Immediately upon moving back in with Janie, Ryder does phenomenal. Janie's taking great care of him again. Rachel has been pushing her surgery out as far as she could to make sure that things are stable at home, but in April of 2019, she does undergo another surgery. Everything's going routinely normal. Rachel has some stitches on the back of her neck that she can't see or reach well, so Janie offers to help with the cleaning and maintaining. She'd switch up bandages, and she seemed to always be rubbing her incision site, which Rachel noted was a little bit odd, but Janie always assured her that everything's fine, and she's just making sure that everything's healing up properly. A few weeks go by since Rachel's surgery, and she's lying in bed with severe pain, and it's coming from the back of her neck. She asks Janie to take a look at it. Janie says, everything looks normal to me. A little more time goes by, and at this point, Rachel says that the pain was so brutal and the swelling in her neck is so severe that she could hardly breathe. She tells Janie she needs to take her to the local clinic. Rachel starts explaining to the doctor what's going on, and he checks her incision site. Once the bandage comes off, he damn near jumps back. "What's wrong?" Rachel asks. The doctor says, "You have a massive infection." He said it looked like blue cheese was growing out of her wound, which is so icky. An ambulance gets called, and Rachel is immediately rushed to the hospital. They ran tests on Rachel, and results came back positive for MRSA. MRSA is an extremely harmful bacteria that is resistant to most antibiotics. It's really dangerous to anyone, especially somebody like Rachel who's already in such a weakened state. MRSA can oftentimes be contracted from the hospital, so Rachel just assumes that this is where it comes from. They inject her with vancomycin, I think is how you pronounce it, to kill off the bacteria, but this unfortunately damages and kills white blood cells in the process. Those of you that don't know, our white blood cells are our body's primary defense against bacteria and viruses. They're so critical to our immune system. They help to keep us healthy and able to fight off bacteria and all that stuff. Rachel is lying there in the hospital. She can literally feel the life draining out of her, is what she said in this documentary. She said she was seriously worried she would die. But Rachel's a strong woman. She gets well enough to be released from the hospital, and at home things are normal again. Her and Janie are back to best friends, and they're sitting on the couch watching true crime shows. Love. The case on the TV shows a woman poisoning her husband with antifreeze or something. Rachel says, "Wow, she's a nurse. She's so stupid to use something that would show up in an autopsy." "What do you mean?" Janie replies. Rachel tells her, "Well, if I were her, I would have used something like insulin, where it's naturally occurring in the body." I can at least vouch for my friends and family and myself. That's a total normal conversation for us. We're in June 9th of 2019. Rachel's getting into bed, and Janie's giving her her nighttime meds. She goes to sleep. Rachel wakes up the next morning in the hospital. She was told that her blood sugar levels had dropped to 13. Rachel is not diabetic, and the average healthy individual should have a blood sugar level of 80 to 110. So this is dangerously low. Rachel's sister receives a phone call from Janie and instantly rushes to the hospital. Rachel's sister was a nurse and has been for 25 years. She meets Janie in the lobby, and she starts to ask questions. Nurse questions, things about her medication, and trying to understand the answer to how her blood sugar could have possibly dropped so low. She's now crying, confused and scared that she's about to lose her sister. She looks up at Janie sitting in the chair across from her. Janie's staring at her with zero expression on her face, almost like she wasn't even blinking. No emotion, just heartless. This is when Rachel's sister starts to get a really bad vibe about Janie. She even tells Rachel in a questioning tone, "Janie seemed almost mad that you survived." Rachel defends Janie in this moment, saying, "Oh, that's just grief. That's just Janie. She's strange and socially awkward. It's just grief." Rachel gets held in the hospital for 48 hours. They monitor her blood sugar levels. They do get back to normal, and so she's released to go back home on Sunday. Tuesday morning, she wakes up in the hospital, again, with her blood sugar levels dropping dangerously low. This time they keep her for 8 days. They're running every test, doing every scan to figure out what's happening with Rachel. It's September of 2019. Rachel ends up in the hospital due to a low blood sugar level of 13 again. At this point in her life, with constant hospital visits, Facebook posts with hospital selfies, getting all this constant attention from her family, questions if she's faking all of this. They're truly questioning if she's faking all of this. She's getting so much attention. She has to be. One of her longtime friends literally asked Rachel, "Are you doing this to yourself?" Rachel claims she's not. Physicians at the hospital came to one final solution, and that is that she had to have been given insulin. They continue to release Rachel because she always makes a miraculous recovery in the hospital. At home, Rachel begins scooping spoonfuls of sugar into her mouth every single night before bed, just so that she'll wake up in the morning. We're at December 12th, 2019. FBI agent Steve Cadiz, a coordinator for the Weapons of Mass Destruction program in Salt Lake City, Utah. He receives a phone call to open up an investigation on a person attempting to purchase Versa on the dark web. Now, Versa is very similar to MRSA. However, it is a far more dangerous and deadly bacteria. In Utah, the state criminal statutes that biological agents entering its borders through mail are considered weapons of mass destruction. FBI agents trace this purchase back to Janie Lynn Ridd. The FBI jumps to an immediate investigation on the purpose of Janie Lynn Ridd buying this Versa and what is her intent on using it. They don't know if she wants to use it on a person, on multiple people, if she wants to cultivate it and grow it so she could introduce it to the community. They need to find this out ASAP. Jen Famina, a State Bureau of Investigations agent, learns about the custody dispute between Rachel and Janie over Rachel's son. She learned about how Rachel was sick and relying on Janie to take care of her son, which was giving Janie a massive payout. Now, Agent Steve Cadiz, being an investigator and all, is quickly putting the puzzle pieces together. Steve thinks Janie purchased this Versa for the sole intent of killing her roommate to gain full custody over her child. In Steve's eyes, Janie has motive and opportunity to kill Rachel, and they need to act fast. December 2019, at home, Rachel is noticing Janie started to seem darker to her. Quote, "There was something about her that was different than I had ever seen," end quote. Rachel said she seemed detached. She was spending less time with Ryder, even leaving him in potentially dangerous situations. Janie is still listed as the guardian of Ryder under Rachel's will, but with the current state that Janie's in, Rachel's nervous. She asks her dad if she can list him as Ryder's guardian instead. He agrees, apart from the fact that he's old, can't move around much, and lives over 5 hours away, but of course he will happily take in his grandson if need be. This is when Rachel has a conversation with Janie and explains that maybe it's time she moved out to find her own place and take Ryder with, even if it's just temporary, so they can work on their friendship while obtaining some space from each other. Janie says, "Yeah, okay, but could you at least stay until December 25th? It's Christmas." Rachel says yes. The date is now December 15th of 2019. The FBI plans to deliver fake Versa to Janie. Janie asked the seller if she could pay extra for overnight shipping. Wild, but Janie, okay. The FBI knows that they need to act fast. 2 days later, on December 17th, the UPS store receives the package with the faux Versa inside, and Janie receives her tracking receipt. She knows it's there waiting for her. FBI is posted up in a car in the parking lot of the UPS store waiting for someone matching Janie's description. And on the second day of their stakeouts, agents are watching that door like hawks. Suddenly, someone that's matching Janie's description gets out of a vehicle. She walks towards the doors, goes in, and comes back out. She's holding the package. Janie heads to her car, gets in, and pulls away. Agents follow her to her workplace. They go up to her office and ask to speak with her. Agent Steve Cadiz, just love this guy. Kick-ass job, if you ask me. Agent Steve asked Janie if she picked up a package today from UPS. Janie says, yes, I ordered, I think it was supposed to be some coffee beans. Then she gets her voice settled into a confused tone and tells Steve she hasn't opened it yet, doesn't know if there's something in there that she needs to be concerned about. Steve tells her, listen, I don't think it's coffee. How about you try and tell me the truth? What did you order? Janie says, okay, I did order a biological. It's for beer. Steve's like, all right, that's chill. Do you have the rest of the equipment for making beer? No, says Janie. She tells Steve she hasn't purchased the rest of the items yet because she's planning to make it for New Year's. Remember, it's December 18th. New Year's is fast approaching. Steve is done with the lies now. He's a no-games man. Stand-up guy, Steve. He tells Janie, let's just start fresh here. I know you didn't buy this to make beer. What biological did you order? She confessed. Janie said she purchased some sort of a staff, one that she could study to better understand and help treat her friend Rachel. Steve still needs her to say it, though. This isn't a full enough confession. Steve brings up, you and the seller went back and forth. And what did you decide to purchase? Janie says Versa. We have a confession. Steve asked Janie if she intended to use this Versa on her roommate Rachel. Janie says no and awkwardly laughs. I wouldn't even know how to do that. Yeah, we fight, but we've been best friends for 25 years. I love her like a sister. I don't want to kill her. I know you don't believe me, but I don't. This is enough probable cause to arrest Janie for the attempt to possess a weapon of mass destruction, which is just a crazy thing to have on your record. It's just wild. So it's the morning of the next day, Tuesday, December 19th. The FBI knocks on Rachel's door. They introduce themselves to Rachel and ask if they can come in and talk to her. They started asking Rachel questions about Janie, like where she gets her packages delivered, where she gets her mail delivered, if she's ever been involved in teaching science or learning science, if she's got any interest in making beer. Rachel says no to all of their questions. She's confused, so she asks if her or her son are in trouble. They say no. Then she asks, is Janie in trouble? And they let her know, yeah, girl, she is. Rachel notes that these agents are almost holding back from what they really wanted to say. She just proceeds to tell them that there must be a misunderstanding. She's my best friend and has been for 25 years. Rachel's just wondering why Janie hasn't called yet. She said she would call. The FBI let her know, yeah, she's not going to call. She's in jail. They're now trying to find the best way that they can tell Rachel how her roommate was planning to kill her. Agents ask Rachel if she knows the difference between MRSA and Versa, and that Janie ordered Versa online, to which they believe to kill her. Rachel's a little sus, so she's like, how would you know that? Cadiz straight up is like, girl, she told me. Rachel says, quote, so MRSA didn't kill me. So she ordered Versa to try and kill me? Is that what you're saying? Cadiz replies, well, that's what I'm asking you. Rachel, and this literally breaks my heart, Rachel starts crying. She said Janie would never do something like that. They've had problems with all of Rachel's surgeries, of course. Rachel even saying, quote, I'm not that easy to deal with. I'm really not. But she wouldn't kill me. There's no way. Cadiz lets Rachel know that this is not the first time Janie has ordered something from the dark web. Rachel stops crying. She looks up and asks, what do you mean? Then says, can she buy insulin? Jackpot. The agents perk up. They look at each other. This was the clear break they needed. The questions stopped. Rachel explained her unknown illnesses that she's been going through. It all makes sense. Detectives had a search warrant for the house, and while searching, they found an insulin injector pen that was used and contained Rachel Booth's DNA inside. Janie had also made multiple purchases for sedatives on the dark web like ketamine so that she could treat Rachel and inject her with things like the MRSA and the insulin. That way she couldn't feel anything. The FBI agents speculate that Janie had attempted to kill Rachel 5 times in 1 year. Janie was arrested and charged with 3 crimes: aggravated abuse of a vulnerable adult, attempted aggravated abuse of a vulnerable adult, and attempted acquisition of a biological weapon. In August of 2020, Janie Lynn Ridd was officially convicted of all 3 charges. She was ordered by the judge to serve between 1 to 20 years at Utah State Prison, and after only 25 months, in January of 2022, Janie Lynn Ridd was released from prison. Now, that last thing I just said, I'm hoping is as repulsive to you as it is to me, so I don't really want to spend any more time talking about Janie. This story was never about Janie. This story is about the amazing mother and survivor, Rachel Booth, and her magical son, Ryder. I'm going to end this episode with a quote from Rachel. Quote, "She didn't ruin my life. She ruined hers. And that's sad. That's really, really sad. Rachel Booth." All right, you guys. That is all I have for you today. That's the end of my story. It's the end of episode 1. I am just so obsessed with that case. It's so fascinating to me. You can watch the Netflix documentary, Worst Roommates Ever. I believe it's season 2, episode 1. If you want to follow along and see the nails that I did, you can go ahead and follow my YouTube, Nails and Nightmares. I'm going to post a new episode every Monday for you. Next week, I have a very exciting case that I'm going over. It is a case to my local hometown. And oh my gosh, I don't want to say anything else because I don't want to ruin it for you, but it's a creeper. It's a creepy creeper creeping, okay? It's so EBGB creepy, and I cannot wait to share it with you guys. I will see you next week on Nails and Nightmares.
All right, that is it for the first episode of Nails and Nightmares. Were you guys just as excited as I was? Because I was so hyped up. Please make sure to head over to that other channel to like and subscribe to me there. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.